A little bit different than StreamYard, isn't it not? Is it not? Is it not? Or is it so? I don't know. By the way, a little bit different than StreamYard, isn't it not? Is it not? Is it not? Oh, you can hear me talk. We don't need that. Don't need to hear my awkwardly weird voice. Myself. I'm blind as a bat right now. Can't see a thing I'm doing. So, we are live. We are live now. We are live now. Look at this. The greatest world title ever to be done. I wish they would bring that back. The beautiful golden belt. Many greats have held this over the years, from WCW to WWE. And the beautiful belt. This is one of the belts I dreamed of holding at one time. And what have you. I'm gimmicked up. I know. I'm totally gimmicked up. It is what it is. And I can't see a damn thing. I need my glasses. So let's remove all this. Why do I have wrestling paraphernalia? You know, like this fake belt. I want to get one of the real ones someday. Like, I want to order it and hang it up. And, of course, the undersized mask. I've tried to pick it up, but it's a little... I think it's a kid size. This is... Ooh, my hair. This is Ultimo Dragon mask, if I'm not mistaken. The Ultimo Dragon mask. Classic. Legendary wrestler. Worked for WWE for a while. Most famous out of New Japan. Did some Mexico. If I'm not mistaken, actually created Torimon Wrestling. Was his company, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of his students. Okada might have been one of his students, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to double check on that. But I know he worked, But yeah, the great Ultimo Dragon. One of the greatest. One of the best matches in New Japan, one of Chris Jericho's best matches was considered him. It was match of the year that year. It was him versus Chris Jericho back in, mid-90s, I think. And these, the AJ Styles gloves. I'm a huge AJ. I actually bought these when I was at a house show one time. I was at a... I used to love to go to house... They don't do many house shows here anymore, which kind of sucks. Yeah, I bought these. I was... diehard AJ fan since his early days in, well, of course, NWA. These are the Finn Balor things. I don't know why I got them, but I thought they were cool. I used to like wearing wristbands because my wrestler, when I wanted to be a pro wrestler, would have worn wristbands like this. And that's why I got them myself. I did some slight training many years ago, back in '99. So... there we go. Let's get my hat. I need a hat. And these are just the CM Punk. These actually came with the CM Punk Blu-ray or DVD, if I'm not mistaken. I had the CM Punk DVD, and these came with it. Yes, and of course Kevin Owens shirt. So I get a lot of wrestling T-shirts. I haven't worn them in a while, but and now this is something I actually would have worn as a wrestler myself. I'll leave the CM Punk ones on because I don't mind. But all right, what am I going to do today? I don't have many pictures, or I'm still getting new to this, doing the live streaming stuff. But, and I'm not using StreamYard because you're limited to how long you can do this, and I'm not sure exactly how long this is going to go today. So, but what are we going to talk about today? Give me a sec here. I want to make sure this is running on the thing here. All right, we're running proper. Give me 1 second here. I need like an extra computer. I need one more. I got 2 running right now, but I need 1 more running to be able to do all this. Give me 1 second here. I always like to have some background noise. It's something new I'm introducing into the channel when I do streams as well, to have some noise in the background. I was actually watching the new Cody Rhodes interview with Damian Priest on his bus. It was just released recently. Really good one. Doesn't quite fit the atmosphere, but we have the lake in the background. Makes it nice and soothing, as we will say. All right, everybody. Hope you're all doing well today. I'm just chilling here with you guys, and today we're going to talk about something that I've wanted to talk about for some time now. Okay, these are sweaty. It's really hot today, And wearing stuff anywhere is really warming. Ugh. I still, yeah. But why did I want to do this video? I recently was watching the deathmatch tournament for GCW and watching the return of Shotzi Blackheart. She's back in the Indies again. Watching her versus, who was it again? Jimmy Lloyd and Matt Tremont. Matt Tremont is like the legend of hardcore wrestling in the modern era. I thought he retired, but he decided to come back again. Like, Matt, come on, retire. You're going to kill your body. But he's still a legend at the deathmatch wrestling. Jimmy Lloyd, Jimmy effing Lloyd. Actually, I've seen him take on Shotzi years ago, before Shotzi was signed, just as she was signed in WWE. I remember she was in a GCW show that year at a bar against Jimmy Lloyd. So I think they worked together before. I think they, well, good match. Shotzi held her own easily with the boys in that hardcore match. So, but what am I doing this video about today? Why am I doing this video? Here, let's move that out of the way. See, StreamYard will cover the whole screen, just me, but I'm using OBS, so that's why you're getting the monitor in the background type thing, but I don't care. I'm good with that. So what is this video about today? This video is about hardcore wrestling. I just wanted to talk about it. And, I figured, why not? Let's, here. Actually, give me a second here. Give me a second. I want to figure something out here. Alright, we're going to do something here. Just give me 1 second. I'm doing this is all live and on the cuff, so. Yeah. That doesn't quite work the best, but there we go. At least we have it as a background. Whoa, that was really badly done. Somebody tried to do that. Oh, well, you get the plates. Anyway, so what are we doing today? I'm going to be looking a little bit off this way because I'm reading off a side screen for some of the stuff here. But I want to talk about hardcore wrestling. After watching that, it really has me questioning a lot of things about hardcore wrestling. Everybody, there's different opinions on hardcore wrestling. What is it? Mud show wrestling, a certain announcer. Oh, Jim Cornette. Let's just say it. I'm a Jim Cornette fan. I'm never going to down on Jim. Jim is a legend in this industry. You know, I mean, he's given so much in this industry, so I'm not going to down on Jim Cornette. I'm a fan. I listen to his show. I find he's kind of a parody of his former self, mind you, but his opinions still have weight. 100%. 100 opinions still have weight and validity because, I mean, that man has done it all, seen it all, and deservedly so. He has a right to have a say of what he wants. I don't have to agree with it all the time. Like, I don't think all hardcore wrestling is mud show wrestling. Some of it can be, though. Some of it can be a little bit over the top. But let's talk about where it started, where it came from. Now, we can talk about the start of where it came from initially, but let's talk about earlier days of what was considered hardcore. Give me a sec. The mouse is a little wonky here. Oh, there we go. Now, let's talk about cage matches. Cage matches. That's a lot of people. There's hardcore style, but it's not necessarily hardcore. But cage matches. You know, the earliest cage matches started in the 1930s. No, I didn't even know that one. I very little, cage matches. Chicken wire stuff like that. They used to have Jack Bloomfield and Count Pedro Rossi. I wouldn't have seen those ones. That's before my time. Guaranteed they probably weren't even recorded. Now the ones I know of, you get. Stuff like Don Kent, Jay Strongbow back in the 70s. That's what was brought in, the shark cage matches. And, of course, the 80s, we had WWE, or WWF at the time, the Blue Bars cage. I hated those Blue Bars cage matches. But then everybody goes, we get the 80s, if I'm not mistaken, late 70s, early 80s, the infamous Jimmy Snuka versus Don Morocco match. Now, I'm just thinking that one off the top of my head. I don't know exactly the year on that. That was the infamous cage match, and I think it was Madison Square Garden, actually. They're all hardcore matches to an extent. Then we brought in the War Games, Hell in the Cell, Bunkhouse Stampede, many different style of cage matches. But is that hardcore wrestling? I mean, you're gonna bleed, you're gonna and you're gonna bleed hard way, you're gonna get hurt. But is that classified as hardcore wrestling? I would say so, to an extent, yes. But that's, the quick things on that. Then we go into the ladder matches. Was it, we got one of the first in a match. It's aired in 1987, but recorded in December of 86. Was it Kendo Nagasaki competed in a Disco Challenge ladder match against Clyde Myers. Where was that at now? No, actually, that's sorry. Originally, in the 1970s, Dan Krautoff and Stampede Wrestling in 72, the year I was born. Tor Kamata in the first ever ladder match. This is ladder match, the first ever ladder match. I remember hearing about that. The first ladder match was brought by Stampede Wrestling. And then many years later, Brett tried to introduce it himself into WWE, going to it. And Brett, who joined it in '84. Role he brought along the Evolution, which of course pitched the idea to Vince in the early '90s. First ladder match featuring Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels took place in '92, and then the infamous match with Razor Ramon and Shawn Michaels for the IC title, the unification of the IC title, one of the bigger ladder matches. But Bret was one of the first, and a lot of people don't give him credit, but it was Stampede Wrestling that really started the ladder matches here in Canada and Calgary. But is that hardcore? It can be pretty hardcore, no rules, Dog collar matches. Now, I consider these some of the more violent matches you ever see. I got a whole history of dog collar matches here. One of the first, I don't even have to look at that one. Roddy Piper, Greg Valentine. That thing, actually, if I'm not mistaken, Piper messed his ear up after that or whatever. A brutal match. They even say here, Piper and Valentine. I remember that match clear as day about that match. That was a violent match. By the way, if I can't see comments here, if you're commenting, I apologize. I'm trying to read this off the same screen as I got to see the comments, so can't really do everything at once here. But, that dog collar matches, also hardcore matches. But is it hardcore wrestling? So, I wouldn't really classify it as set on hardcore wrestling. So, now where did hardcore wrestling start? Where did the term hardcore wrestling start? Where did it originate from? Hardcore wrestling. And I knew this too. I didn't have to look this up, but I knew. And I was a big fan of this company. It's FMW, Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. I was a huge fan of them. They had many great talents. Onita was the one who started it. If I'm not mistaken, it was started in '89 by Onita. And that ran for many years up until 2002, where they shut their doors. There was talk of bringing them back. I don't know if they actually... I think they did get brought back. It was a little lesser. There's other ones that kind of came from that. DDT, I think, was derived from them. A few other companies. And Wing, also around the same time as them, too. I'm not sure of Wing's release of when they started. But Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling, one of my all-time favorites, Hayabusa, was from there. I remember watching him in the... I forget what year it was. It was in the New Japan Super Junior tournament. He was brought in. He took on Liger, if I'm not mistaken. But then I'm like, who is this guy? Find him more. Then I learned about Frontier Martial Arts Wrestling. Started watching them. Amazing stuff. Some of the matches over there. Win Kimura to Terry Funk and Cactus Jack. They had matches over there. There's so many. Mike Awesome. You had so many great legend, and the females even. I can't think of their name right now. But they had many women that would bleed as much as the men and stuff, and it was just pure hardcore wrestling, Frontier Martial Arts. But it was martial arts too. It was great. It was like the introduction of MMA to pro wrestling. It was really before anybody in North America did it. They did it there, and a certain guy noticed that, who was introducing wrestling to North America. And then we're going to go into this other one, as that company's still going on. Back in, was it 92, I think it is. A gentleman by the name of Todd Gordon bought this Eastern Championship Wrestling company. And I think it was out of Philly. Created a great company there. But then he brought in another guy to help book it, help create it and work with it. Paul Heyman, we all know that name. I think there's on 94. That's the time where, I'm just going on top of my head, we had, I don't know the time of the year, which pay-per-view exactly it was, but that was Shane Douglas winning the NWA World title, throwing it away and christening himself the ECW, rebranding to the Extreme Championship Wrestling title. This was the introduction of hardcore into the North American market. This really introduced hardcore into the North American market in a really big way. It was like, oh wow, this is cool. And right out of Philly, this small little company was touring the Northeastern and really setting something afire, which is very small, but it was competing against something. Now, number wise, no, it didn't make as much, but it competed. It was staying powerful against that. I remember watching it nights. It was against like here. Well, it wasn't on TV at first. They had, you'd have to find it, tapes and stuff. I used to get tapes somehow. Tape trading days. And let's talk about that many years down. VHS tapes, yes, they exist. Hey, remember these? Anybody's wondering what a VHS tape is? Here, that's a VHS tape. We used to have that, and we'd have pre-made ones on wrestling. So that's where I started as a wrestling tape trader. But yeah, it was ECW, a really amazing under-the-ground company. Heyman, who was previously with WCW and in the industry for many years before that, doing other things, managerial stuff. I'm pretty sure he did some behind-the-scenes stuff, maybe some announcing, but this really brought him to the forefront of running a company. We all know what happened there. He became one of the greatest of all time managers, promotion. I still think he should have more power. Anyway, not going to talk about that. But ECW really introduced a new vein of wrestling into the North American culture. We had barbed wire matches, the Taipei death matches. Remember with the glass and stuff? It was the Rottens. Ian and Axel Rotten had that match. They dipped their reversed taped hands, and then they'd have the glass on each hands to, so many different styles of matches introduced to the North American market. Sabu, who brought over the table. Tables weren't really a big thing then, and Sabu brought it over from Frontal Martial Arts. They actually did some cross promotions because Heyman saw that in his eyes. Ooh, they're doing it. They were doing it before us. That's why I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's giving credit to them, giving him the idea of bringing that to North America. And then they actually cross promoted Hayabusa and what was it? I can't think of his name now. Hakushi? He used to be known Hakushi. He was actually a great one. He had all the tattoos on his body from WWF years ago. Great wrestler, brilliant wrestler. Him and, if not, Hayabusa took on a few ECW guys. I think it was Rob Van Dam and somebody else. Might have been Sabu. I'm not sure. I think it would have been. And there was some other matches. They did some cross-promoting. And we know eventually Mike Awesome came over to ECW. He was originally from there. And Tanaka and many other names came over as well from FMW. And they cross-promoted and what have you. Cost a lot of money, I guess, from them to do that. But Heyman admitted to bringing that style over to America. And like I said, Sabu, who recently passed, one of the greats, people can say what they want, he was one of the greats that introduced hardcore to North America in a different style. He brought the tables. Even the Dudleys will admit that. If it wasn't for Sabu, with they wouldn't be get the tables. And the Dudleys, one of the great tag teams of the modern era. I was a diehard Road, and I'm still a diehard Road Warriors fan. They're, to me, is the greatest tag team in the history of it. British Bulldogs, but the Dudleys are up there. They really are. They've dominated the industry, and they would literally create riots in those crowds. They were so good at what they did. So Devon and Bubba, so amazing. You had Sandman. You had Raven, one of the greatest minds in the industry. I'm surprised he's not working as a booker for one of them. I think he is. Some company, I'm not sure exactly, but I mean, he should be in one of the top companies, AEW or something. That man is a genius. But they introduced the hardcore style. I won't go too much about ECW. We could really do a whole show on ECW. They had TV for a while, TNT, if I'm not mistaken. I used to watch it there before Rollerball, or maybe Rollerballs after. And then there was a monster show as well, hosted by Christopher Lee. And then I'd watch it at night. And I was introduced to the hardcore style in North America on television then too. Young Rhino and Jerry Lynn and many other guys. Boom. Okay, so go, boom, they close. WCW closed, they closed. Then we're like, okay, we don't have any hardcore wrestling for a while. What's going on? We don't have ECW. It's well, from the ashes of ECW created ROH. It was here. Give me a second here. I know the names. Usually I know names off the top of my head. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Rob Feinstein is the one who started ROH, but also, oh, I can't think of it. Give me 1 second here. I'm reading stuff. Anyway, I'm forgetting the name right now, but ROH brought a little bit of hardcore in. You had, like, they did some hardcore stuff. I remember, and he just recently retired to. Wow, I'm blanking out. I got so much stuff. I've got like 3 different computers running, so I apologize. Give me a second here. Yes. There was Homicide. He was one of their hardcore guys. A great wrestler though. He wasn't just hardcore. Homicide, the infamous Homicide versus Steve Corino match. The Drano stuff. He did the Drano one with it was Colt Cabana. I mean, they would pull off hardcore matches there as well. ROH, but then from ROH there was another side company, CZW, Combat Zone Wrestling. John Moxley, if I'm not mistaken, that's where he started. And many other guys who crossed over between ROH and there. Combat Zone actually would attack, and then they did some co-shows together. Chris Hero, who now books for AEW, he was originally, if I'm not mistaken, a CZW wrestler, did some ROH, and had him and then him and Punk used to fight in Mid-South. That was owned by Ian Rotten at the time. Ian was starting the show, so Mid-South Wrestling, really hardcore as well. Mickey Knuckles, amazing female wrestler. Sadly, she didn't get that. She got screwed over many times eventually, which sucks because Mickey Knuckles was a hardcore wrestler. She did some TNA for a while, but wow, she could go. She had that thing to her, but she was big on Mid-South. But then we had Mid-South, CZW. You had Rob Black's Western Company. I'm not going to talk about them. They are actually back in existence right now, but there's some bad stuff. They kind of leached off of. They didn't leech. They had their own thing. Give me a sec. What was the name again? Give me. Extreme Pro Wrestling, XPW, which I've watched some of their stuff. They were kind of a copy of ECW, I find. They said they did it before. They actually used to have battle with ECW. They've recently come back. Rob Black is the gentleman running it. I actually enjoyed some of their stuff. I can't say I didn't. And they're actually back again doing their stuff at the end of the day. But you had, say, CZW, XP, all these companies. But then there was a company that kind of, Frontal Martial Arts one kind of died out as well, we all know. And there was a rumor bringing that back. Some of the matches they did, explosion matches, were a mess. AEW tried to copy it, didn't quite have the same feel to it after ECW died. And then, ROH kind of died now, too. I'm sorry. The AEW's ROH isn't the same ROH. But then we had a company who was founded in 1999. It was Jersey Pro Wrestling. And then eventually it was sold to, was it Danny Demento? And then a few years ago, bought by Brett Lauderdale, which was changed over. It was founded as, Jersey Championship Wrestling. More pro wrestling in 99. Independent wrestling promotion known for its hardcore and shooty style matches. GCW, under the ownership of Brett Lauderdale, has grown from its New Jersey roots to run events across the United States and internationally. The production is known for its events like Backyard Wrestling, Bloodsport, Joey Janela Spring Break, and the Tournament of Survival. They also do For the Culture and many other great Effie's Gay Parade, or Effie's Gay Brunch, and so many other things. GCW is where it's at now, if you want to do pure hardcore wrestling. But they've now branched out into other wrestling, too. They've brought, some big names have come from that company. Many great wrestlers have come from GCW. And I'm not going to go down the list of guys that are in there. There's many guys in the industry now that came from Game Changer who are now wrestling in some of the big feds. So, and they branched a little bit from the hardcore, and now they have a guy that works for them now too. Was it Matt Cardona? He remember he went there a few years ago when he got let go from WWE as Zack Ryder, and he's totally brought some more eyes to that and really took him to the next level. In my opinion, he really did help them do that. But Nick Gage, like I said, I recently watched the match with Jimmy Lloyd, who's been there as long as I can remember. He helps go run it as well. It was Tim, Matt Tremont, Shotzi Blackheart. She's done some stuff with them. She's actually back with them. She's booked all the way the rest of the year. Will she show up in other companies? We'll see. But they've done the death matches. The introduction to death matches, I think, might have started in XPW, maybe to ECW. But then really, Game Changer, they have death match tournaments, and that's what this was. The death match tournaments. Nick Gage versus Tremont many a times. Oh, violent, the most ultra violent. Schlack, I'm a big fan of Schlack. The guy, he had a unique look. I remember he tried to wrestle a few times. He's actually not a bad wrestler, but he's one of the hardcore legends out there, the deathmatch legends, I should say. So, I mean, the growth of hardcore wrestling into deathmatch wrestling, what it is now, a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people are like, hey, don't watch it. Doesn't have a place in modern wrestling, and I know Jim Cornette calls it mud show wrestling. Yeah, I think he refers to GCW Game Changer as that, with Joey Janela and all the stuff going on there. Joey Janela can actually wrestle. He's a smart guy too. He's the one who's done a lot of the. He's helped a lot of other people's careers in the industry. Now I don't know behind the scenes stuff, but to me, Joey Janela, I even though I don't think he runs GCW, I think he's a big part of bringing in some names. Now there was controversy with him and Sabu, but I'm not going to go into that right now. But him and Sabu, I did see that over the WrestleMania weekend. What a good match! Sabu was the last match actually, they have some great names that come out of the company. And just, does it have a place in modern day? Yes. Why? Because it still sells out the bars. It still sells out the shows. No, it's not going to sell out big arenas. But it sells out the arenas that it's in. Because it has a fan base still. It still has a niche. And if these guys and girls are willing to take that kind of punishment to entertain you, and as long as they're safely taken care of, and they have doctors and ambulances on site to take care of these people before they go. Has anybody severely hurt? Believe it or not, there's been people that severely hurt by this sometimes. But all in all, if these people are willing to do it and put their own, willing to risk and have these type of matches, what is it to us to say no, you're not? And is it for everybody? No, it's not for everybody. 100% not for everybody. But is it fun to watch once in a while? People look at train wrecks. People look at stuff like that. It's the stuff you're not supposed to see. That's what deathmatch wrestling is. That's what hardcore wrestling was. And it's come in. And let's be honest, that kind of wrestling existed kind of throughout the Mid-South for years. Bunkhouse brawls and stuff like that and everything. It just wasn't called hardcore wrestling at the time. And now it's gone to the extreme with light tubes and tacks on barbed wire bats and glass panes, and the light tubes are scary because the stuff inside those can't be good for you. But they're willing to do it. Would I do it? Hell no. Even when I wanted to train, I wanted to do Japan. Would I have done hardcore wrestling? I doubt it. Maybe one match in my career I would have liked to have tried. I never did get to wrestle. But would I have done it? Maybe once. But all in all, I still enjoy it once in a while. I watched the Shotzi match with them, and it was fun. Once in a while, it's good to watch some hardcore wrestling. It's good to watch some deathmatch wrestling. It's not for everybody's cup of tea, but it does have a niche. GCW will do the backyard show. They actually do, if I'm not mistaken, it's in behind Brett Lauderdale's back house, behind his house. It's a big yard. And they set up a ring on the outside of the trees. It's always the same spot, and there's people around the ring, just fans on the lawn with lawn chairs. And it's fun to watch every year. It's just outdoor matches, and it's just fun. And I'm looking forward to this year's backyard wrestling event as well. We can go into backyard wrestling federations, stuff like that. That's been in existence as long as I remember. I did some fun in a buddy's house a couple times, but never backyard. But it existed, I mean, you can find the video game Backyard Wrestling. Remember that one? That was an interesting video game, and it was trying to be outlawed back then, and um, I can again CZW and so many other companies have brought this into the forefront. Does it belong in wrestling? Maybe not in the big companies. Maybe not in television or pay-per-views. It wouldn't really sell tickets on the masses. It won't. It won't. It's not family friendly. Hell no, it's not. But it does have a niche market that will purchase it and will enjoy it. Not everybody likes a horror film, but and even I loved the first two Terrifiers. I hated the last one. It was just ultra violence for ultra violence and didn't really have as much of a story as the first two. But I enjoyed it. Still, sometimes it's just fun to watch that kind of thing. I wanted to work in Hollywood, working with blood and makeup and stuff, and that's real blood. They still take care of each other. Their goal is to look after each other, but it hurts and it's violent, and sometimes it's just interesting to watch. Does it have a place? Yes, because it still sells tickets. That's all that matters. If you don't enjoy it, don't watch it. But it's not going to be your cup of tea. It's not going to be your cup of tea. But it has a place in our society to have wrestling as such. Hardcore wrestling, deathmatch wrestling, whatever you're going to call it, it does have a place. So some people call it mud show. Well, just don't watch it then. Watch the WWE, which I do. I watch it all. I watched the Lucha show recently. AAA used to have a lot of stuff like that, hardcore stuff and everything too. You can go into Lucha Underground. Oh, they had some pretty good hardcore matches. Penta was really known. I've been a Penta fan for years. That's why I can't wait to see what he does more in WWE. Like, they're pushing him well. Stay tuned. It's going to be interesting. I'm really enjoying what they're doing. I'm really enjoying deathmatch wrestling. I'm getting back into watching GCW. Does it have a place? Yes. Is it enjoyable? Per taste. That's up to your taste. Not everybody likes it, but I do once in a while. Do I like it all the time? No. But it's nice to get back into it again. So, and that's pretty much the basic Flash history. Just a Flash. I could really break it down over and over and over. Game Changer, XPW exists now, if I'm not mistaken again. And hardcore wrestling has a stay in North America and around the world. Japan, again, Frontier Martial Arts really want to introduce the hardcore style as an entire federation. Then nowadays you have DDT and many other ones like that who do co-mix with GCW, sort of like ECW mixed with Frontier FMW. GCW and DDT do a lot of co-shows sometimes, and it's always fun to watch them do that here in North America, and in Japan. So there's always going to be a place for it. There's always going to be a need for it. That's a brief history of everything, like from ladder matches to everything to now what we call deathmatch. Do they tie in loosely? But deathmatch is its own unique entity. Not for everybody, but if you enjoy it, enjoy it. Peace.